What's up, everybody? Welcome to our very first Turn on the Jets podcast on our new YouTube channel. We are experimenting again with the Google Plus Hangout after failing miserably with it last week. We talked for 45 minutes, and the recording went nowhere. I guess it wasn't even a recording. It was just five guys having a video chat about the Jets that is now out in dead internet space. Anyway, I think we got it down now. So right now we also have Mike Nolan of our staff at Turn the Jets. What's up, Mike? Say hi to the people.
What's going on, people? I'm Joe. Dalbin, how you doing?
And we also have Dalbin Osorio of our staff. Dalbin, what's going on? I like your background, two Jets hats.
That's right. It's only right, Joe. It is only right.
Yeah, and as you can see, look at that marketing. Our two Turn on the Jets t-shirts right there. Neither are any more for sale because we did sell them both out. We don't have a shirt this year. Maybe next year.
Nice.
We'll see. But here are the two shirts. Check them out. Connor Rogers is also going to be joining us in a few minutes. He was actually live in Cortland last night. Got to get on the field, interviewed Dakota Dozier. Apparently also interviewed John Idzik for a little bit.
Nice.
He's going to have a couple articles on that over on our site, along with just give us some reaction here about what he saw from the crowd and everything last night. I guess let's start with the scrimmage. And not surprisingly, the scrimmage is kind of the first big event of training camp, and it's something to get excited about. There's a good turnout, good crowd, but always important to keep perspective that it's a controlled inter-squad scrimmage that's about 9 days into training camp. So I would not be overreacting to the offense not playing all that well. I believe they only mustered 2 total field goals. There wasn't any touchdowns scored, and I don't want to overreact too much to, let's say, a guy like Greg Salas or Rontez Miles having a strong night. That's great for those guys, and they're both, I think, still very firmly bubble players. So I don't think you want to be like, hey, Greg Salas is a roster lock now because he had 6 catches in inter-squad scrimmage. He's still, I would consider him still a pretty long shot to make the roster. That being said, Dalbin, let's start with you. I mean, what you heard out of the scrimmage, was there anything, what was the most positive thing you took out of, what happened in Cortland last night?
The most positive thing for me, I think, was Stephen Hill beating Patterson on the 41-yard bomb from Geno. And not even so much that he got past him, right? Because, we all know Stephen Hill can fly. But the fact that he went up with his hands and high-pointed a catch, I've been looking for Stephen Hill to do that against anybody that's not a Buffalo Bills cornerback for the last, two years. So I think that was impressive. And even on the flip side, it was disheartening to see that the defense is still struggling with, getting beat deep. But again, Pryor is the one that's supposed to rectify that. So I wouldn't, again, the same thing you said, I wouldn't read too much into it. But Stephen Hill, that jumped out at me because he's a guy that, while I think he's as much of a lock as anybody to make the team. I know some Jets fans question whether he should make the team, but I think he's going to be on the roster just fine. So it was exciting to see him take a lot of the talk that we have heard about. He was having a really good camp and apply it to the scrimmage. So that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about that is it was almost we were getting mixed reports, and we'll have Connor, I guess, rectify this when he hops in, but it was he went up and he got the ball in his hands, this is a great thing, and then some people were saying, no, he actually used his body, he still didn't go up at the highest point. Regardless of whether he did or not, it's going to be key for him on an actual Sunday, in an actual game, to use his height and use his size and go get the football. And it is good that the Jets are pushing the ball down the field. I think they're going to have a pretty run-heavy offense that's going to integrate a lot of screens, but Geno does throw the ball well down the field, and Marty's going to take his shots. And if Hill could be a factor there, it's going to make a big difference. I think they're going to take a lot of their shots down the seams using their speed at tight end, and even with Decker and Curley, but certainly Hill could be a factor there as well. Mike, on the offensive line, now that we're heading into that first preseason game, how important is it for Willie Colon or whoever ends up being the starting guard to get as many reps as possible next to Giacomini? And I know you talk about how many combo blocks and the importance of these guys playing side by side. So we just talked a little bit, the importance of having your actual tackle and guard playing together as much as possible over the next month.
Yeah, and in Marty Mornhinweg's offense, they're going to be doing a lot of zone blocking, inside zone, mid zone, outside zone. And pretty much on every zone play, they're going to be in a combo block. So for the most part, whenever they're running the ball, whoever the right guard is and Giacomini are going to be combo blocking the down lineman up to a linebacker. And what's involved with that is, first of all, you got to be really precise in your footwork, but you have to have a good feel of the guy next to you, because it's all about spacing and it's all about your distance away from each other and your position with each other on that down lineman first, so that one of those guys can get off on the linebacker and they can communicate. So it's vitally important for those guys to play together. I would imagine a guy like Cologne will pick it up quicker because he's a veteran. He's been there. He picked it up pretty quick last year with Austin Howard right off the bat. So Cologne I'm not as worried about, but if you got someone else that's going to end up at right guard, whether Winters gets switched over or Bushi gets that spot or Cologne gets hurt, you want to get as many reps as possible with those young guys next to Giacomini, and it sounds like through the offseason they have gotten most of those reps. So it's vitally important to just keep getting reps, especially for the young guys. Cologne, not as worried about. So, just keep getting reps and keep building that camaraderie together, and hopefully they work it out by the time the season rolls around.
Yeah, I think one of the main things I'm going to be looking for on Thursday, and really what I think is quietly maybe the biggest concern of this entire team, is really the offensive line. I think Ferguson took a step back last year, and whether that he just had a down year and he had a tough time with the guard situation next to him, or is he actually starting to really take a step back at his overall level of play? You're obviously integrating a new right tackle, and you have question marks at the guard position where Winters was down for most of last year, finished better than he started, obviously, and now you have a Bushi pushing him for playing time, Cologne coming back for injury. If you're not blocking well up front, the offense isn't going to go anywhere, particularly when you still have a quarterback who has plenty of question marks around it. The last thing the Jets need is Geno Smith, constantly under pressure, constantly getting hit. So, I'm hoping that two people really step up and kind of establish themselves Thursday night at this guard position, and they can get as many reps in as possible with the five guys who are really going to be playing, because I'm a little worried about the offensive line, to be honest. And it does look like Connor Rogers just hopped in. He's got his Jets towel from Cortland in the background. Connor, we got 23 minutes left, so hop right in and give us your full kind of takeaway from last night. You were there. You were on the field. You got the floor for the next 4 or 5 minutes. Just no pressure. Just go. Tell everyone all about Cortland last night.
All right, definitely a really good experience. If anybody hasn't been up to it, I definitely recommend going. It's free. You're pretty close to all the players. A lot of people like to get stuff signed. They collect memorabilia. And the players, everybody was on the field signing and staying after, coming up to the stands, even the people that couldn't really get on. I saw Nick Mangold go over the stands. Geno Smith stayed really, really late. I mean, it was getting dark. Fireworks are over, and that guy was still over there signing for everyone. So that goes to show you, what he's trying to represent and how he is for the team. But as for the play itself, it was, fans can't take it that serious because it's a scrimmage. And if anybody that's ever played any professional sport, you always open up the season with some kind of your team colors scrimmage. When I was in high school, it was always green and white. Obviously for everything, and it's just a scrimmage. It's a glorified practice. It's not even close to what the Hall of Fame game will be tonight. And there's no organization of the Hall of Fame game. I know a lot of people say that they just go out and play. They don't show any kind of schemes or really anything like that. So the scrimmage wasn't really. It was the same thing last night. There was nothing really too intense about it, but you could definitely notice improvement from some players and some players staying really stagnant. Geno, it was hard to get a read on. I thought there was a couple times where he held the ball too long, and because of that he was sacked. But at least the sacks were coming off blitzes off the edge. Everybody knows Rex likes to run those blitzes off the edge. He really is a fan of doing it with Rontez Miles, which goes to show you where the safety battle is in the team right now. I didn't even see Jaquan Jarrett on the field. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but I definitely didn't even realize he was part of the team. Meanwhile, Miles was in on about 70% of the plays whenever he was in on the snap, whether that was a sack, breaking up a pass, throwing a big hit. He was all over the field, and I could almost say that he's a lock to make this team right now. Whether people think that's premature or not, I think the guy is probably going to be the fourth safety on the depth chart right behind DeJuan Landry, and he might even pass him if he's making more of an impact. The guy looks like a completely different player out there, so he really stood out. One of the other big names that was interesting is Greg Salas, because right now, and the truth is, and a lot of people don't want to hear this, but he's a better backup option for Jeremy Curley than Jalen Saunders is, and that's a tough call because Saunders has a lot more potential, and he's obviously a lock to make the team because of his punt returning ability. But at the same time, Salas is the better wide receiver right now, and I think that's familiarity with Marty Morningweg's system, but also the fact that the guy can get open and catch just about everything thrown his way underneath. Think of him like as a Jeremy Curley light, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him because part of me thinks that they're going to want to keep him because they need depth like that in the slot position, but I don't think they're going to be able to find a way to keep him unless they want to carry 6 wide receivers and cut one of the back-end guys. I mean, I'm not a fan of Jacoby Ford. I really don't know what he brings to the team, but he is a guy that, is a fringe player, and he might make the team, so it's going to come down to stuff like that. As for the quarterbacks, which everybody cares about, I thought Michael Vick looked great, and some people will be happy to hear that, and some people will be nervous because it does bring up the quarterback competition again. But the fact is, Vick can make every throw with ease. It doesn't even look like he's, putting that much behind it when he releases the ball, or he doesn't even step forward that much, but the ball just sails right out of his arm, and it pretty much perfect every time from what I saw. I saw a lot of the beat was saying that he overthrew Clyde Gates on that bomb. I was right there, and most receivers catch up to that ball and make that catch by extending their arms. Clyde was a little overwhelmed because he was in double coverage that he had a step on, which is really nice to see, especially with, first and second team units. But a lot of guys like Decker and I don't know about, a guy like Curley, even Hill, they have the reach to get to that ball. It was a perfect pass. Other than that, Vic looks really good. He just kind of knows when guys break out of their routes, and that's something you expect to see out of a veteran quarterback. There was one time where I think it was Patterson. He tried to be physical with Decker about 3 yards off the line of scrimmage, and Decker just put both shoulders into him, blew him backwards, cut inside, and made like a 12-yard gain out of it because Vic hit him right in stride, and it was just a really nice play all around. And you see that physicality from Decker, which the Jets receiving corps has probably never really had in my lifetime besides Keyshawn Johnson, players like that. But this guy goes up and gets the ball and actually uses his 6'3" frame. Geno Smith looked a lot quicker with the reads, which was nice. Whenever his first target wasn't open, he knew to look away right away and didn't even wait for him, which is really nice to see because that just means he's grasping the offense and he knows where to go second and third. I think it'll be really interesting when Chris Johnson gets a lot of burn and comes out of the backfield and is that safety valve like LaDainian Tomlinson was for Mark Sanchez. A couple of notes on the rookies. Amaro definitely isn't ready yet, which is okay. It should be expected. He didn't really show a lot, but you could tell the guy knows how to get open. He knows how to catch the ball, but he didn't see a lot of burn with the first team. He just needs to learn the offense. It's understandable. They've not even been there. It feels like 2 full weeks. So that's going to take some time. And the guy at tight end right now is Jeff Cumberland. He had a nice slant route, nice catch. He shows a lot. Sudfeld, he's going to need a little time too. I think you're going to see a lot of him because he can block, especially pass block. I don't think he could run block as well as he wants to yet. Getting up close to the guy, he's as tall as an NBA power forward. But he's got a lot of work to do to fill out his frame. He's really skinny up top, but he's just such a naturally gifted and big guy that I think investing in him was a really smart idea because you see all the potential there on both sides, running, run blocking, eventually pass blocking now, and as a receiving option. So, those are the guys that stand out to me. One more, definitely Antonio Allen. It looks like the guy's been playing in the defense for 8 years now instead of 2. He just kind of knows where to be, and it was kind of a quiet night for him because they know not really to go near him. The defense looked a little different because they need Pryor free roaming deep, and when they have backup safeties doing that, it doesn't work as well. And the defensive line is as good as ever, and they're going to be a top 5 unit in the league with ease because they don't get pushed backwards at all, any of them.
Yeah, I think something that's going to be really interesting to see, and there's a ton of different opinions on this, is, what are the numbers in terms of the final 53? Do you keep? I've seen people talk about them keeping 7 receivers. I've seen people talking about them keeping, 5 receivers. How many running backs do they keep? Do they keep Richardson as 4 halfbacks? I think there's going to be some really interesting and really tough decisions. It's still very early, but with the injuries and the way they've started camp, I continue to think that Evans and tell me again if I'm pronouncing this wrong or right. Is it Enua? Tell me I'm pronouncing it wrong. Enuma. Are most likely going to find their way to being put on IR and have almost like a red shirt, freshman year. I think the Jets would love to do that and find a way to do that if possible, particularly if they continue to kind of, don't necessarily stand out because that you're not losing out on, guys you just drafted, particularly Evans, who was a 4th-round pick. I mean, I think we all feel that Saunders is a lock to make the roster, but, is Ford going to be the primary kick returner? Does he get a spot just because he's a kick returner? Is he that good of a kick returner where he merits a spot in the 53? If a guy like Salas keeps playing well, do you keep him, but who gets knocked off the roster then? And if you're going to keep that many receivers on an offense where you're going to be running the ball like crazy and you have a lead back in Chris Ivory who's not that durable, and you have Chris Johnson coming off season surgery, isn't there value in having a guy like Daryl Richardson on the active roster? Dalbin, I'll throw it to you. When you're looking at, you did the 53-man roster prediction for this week. How do you think those numbers could shake out offensively for the Jets?
Well, I know a lot of people are in love with Ford and his speed and things like that, but this is, you want to talk about a guy that's injury prone. He's about as injury prone as you're going to get. So I don't think he makes the 53-man roster. I definitely don't think he sticks. I think Jalen Saunders can handle the kick return duties. He's a very good punt. He was a very good punt returner in college, and I think he'd be fine as a kick returner. I think he'd be much better than what we had last year. I do think they're keeping 4 running backs though. I don't think they're keeping 3. I think Richardson is going to make the team. Powell's also banged up too. He hurt himself last week. And so that's why they signed the kid from Tampa Bay, because you need another camp body, because Powell is hurt now. Ivory's injury prone. You don't want to rely too much on Chris Johnson. I think they carry 4 running backs, man. I think that Richardson will make it. I don't think Ford makes it. I think Saunders, Salas, Hill, Nelson, Curley, and Decker are the locks in terms of 6 receivers. I know it's like we haven't played the first preseason game, but I think those are the 6 guys that they're going with their wide receiver. I think Evans and Quincy will find themselves, 1-year redshirt, because you're talking about a team that also, the 6 receivers that I mentioned, they're all physical run blocking kind of receivers. Curley, for as small as he is, can run block. Saunders can run block. Like, you're not going to go with a guy like Ford who can't run block at all for a team that's going to still primarily run the ball. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's Marty, he's going to chuck it. No, they're still going to run the ball. And Richardson gives you much more value than a guy like Ford, than a guy like Shaq right now. Shaq may be better in the long term, but I think you go with the 4 running backs and you go from there. That's my take. I think they're going to go with 4 running backs. I don't think they go with 7 wide receivers.
Mike, with the backup lineman spots, obviously we know who roughly the 5 start. We know who the top 6 linemen will be. Do you think the Jets carry 8 or 9? Obviously, I think Dozier is going to stick on the roster, and I think you've said that it would benefit him probably to have a redshirt year anyway, but who do you think is the 8th and 9th lineman? Do they carry 9 linemen? Is that necessary with the versatility of Ibushi, since he can play guard or tackle? What do you think happens there?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to throw it back to Connor. Talking about Greg Salas and Mike Vick, it sounds like the Eagles' 2013 training camp. How well those guys are
That's what it looked like.
But, honestly, and I think this is an overall NFL thing right now. We talked about it last week about how teams are drafting tackles mostly across the board to play almost every position besides center. And part of it is a need thing. It's so teams can only have to carry 8 linemen and have 3 guys behind us, a backup center and 2 guys that can play any spot across the line besides center. So I think it's a thing that the whole NFL is moving to, and it's probably something the Jets are going to want to do the way they're building this thing. I think they'll keep the backup center. I have a feeling they'll keep Freeman. I just think it's the end of the Schlauderhoff era. Obviously, Ibushi on the bench.
What an era!
The other thing that I think is interesting is I know Dozier has worked in the offseason leading up to the draft. He worked at all 3 positions, and he has the ability to play center. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If they see in camp, I don't know if he's really worked at center in camp at all. I don't think he has. But maybe that's something for the future, too, where they only keep him and not keep Freeman or Schlauderhoff. I don't know. I'm really trying to figure out where William Campbell fits into this whole thing.
Well, the thrill. Maybe another year on the practice squad.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was kind of wondering, Connor, did you get a chance to look at him a little bit in the scrimmage?
Campbell, yeah, Connor, talk about what you got to talk about with Dozier, and I know you mentioned that you passed by Mr. Idzik as well. If you want to quickly describe that, and then we'll get into real quick thoughts on Thursday before we hit 8 o'clock.
Well, Campbell, I didn't get to see much of because when the 3rd-team unit was out there, I didn't even look for him. I kind of forgot, which is surprising because I'm a huge Campbell fan.
Well, the thrill.
I had to see Boyd and Sims, and I kind of regret watching them both because it's just I don't really understand. I think they're going to keep Boyd because of what could be there rather than what is there now because there's really not a whole lot on each side, even though I liked Sims last year, but last night I was disappointed. I don't know if it was because he didn't really get any protection, which goes to show you maybe Campbell hasn't shown much because Sims was getting clobbered every time he dropped back. But I mean, he didn't really have time, so I guess that's not really fair to assess him last night. But talking to Dozier, which was actually was awesome because he's a really cool guy, really nice guy. Definitely a mauler. I got to see him last night, just raw power right there. I think moving him inside was a brilliant move. I actually asked him about the transition from tackle to guard, and he said it's not as hard as you think because it's just transitioning from going against speed rushers to more power rushers and the bull rushers. I'm sure he doesn't think that about Sheldon Richardson, who shows both moves. But he definitely said it's pretty interesting transition, but not as hard as you'd think. So it goes to show you that there's really no excuses for making for guys that move from tackle to guard. It's just a time thing. And he was like, honestly, right now it's just a time thing. I just need to keep practicing, getting used to it. And he's a really strong guy, so I don't really see that being a problem for him. I would like to see him get a year just to develop because I think he can be real good, especially as a runner. Being a former tackle, the pass blocking skills are there, but you just see the power in this guy, and he can move people backwards, which the Jets are really going to need after Willie Colon goes, because he's the only guy on that line I see right now in the run blocking game that actually can move people backwards off the line of scrimmage, especially in the interior. So I have high hopes for Dozier. Really great guy to talk to. I also asked him how he ended up at Furman, which I thought was really interesting. And he said in high school there just wasn't really a lot of recruiting going around his school and his division, and that he just didn't really get noticed, and he just wanted to play football, so he just took whatever came his way. And obviously it worked out really well for him because he had a standout career at Furman and definitely deserved to be a fourth-round draft pick. I actually thought he was at least a third, but it's really nice that he ended up in green and white. I was staying on the field watching the fireworks for a while, and after I talked to Dozier, because I didn't want to hold too long. I know how it is to just want to get in the shower and go home after playing any sport, so I kind of let him go his own way after a few questions. But I was walking off the field and going towards the exit, and I saw John Idzik standing there watching the fireworks, and I didn't want to take too much of his time up because, I feel like he doesn't really come out in the spotlight too much, and I just went over and shook his hand and told him good luck with the season. I really like what he's doing. And he was really appreciative of that, really down-to-earth, just normal guy, not shocked or pulled back or too good to talk. He looked like he could have stood there and talked for all 20 minutes, but when a guy's with his family watching the fireworks, I just wanted to shake his hand and say good luck. And he's a really nice guy, so it's really nice to have that kind of leadership in the front office. And you could tell the guy just knows what he's doing. But he's really friendly. And then as I was walking out, Snacks was walking out with everybody, just all the family and friends, and he's just an awesome, normal guy, really funny. Massive human being. So it was a really good experience. And like I said, if you haven't been, everybody should really get up there and go because we had there was about 7,000 fans last night, and it's the closest you're ever going to get to the team as a fan. So being down on the field and getting to talk to Dozier and a couple of the guys and just being around that atmosphere and covering the whole scrimmage is a really good experience.
Cool. All right, we got 7 minutes left, so we're just going to go around the horn real quick for Thursday night. Jets, Colts, MetLife Stadium. Football it's back tonight. We got Giants, Bills, then I got a little leftovers and go to bed. It's a nice little Sunday night. But yeah, for Thursday, main things I want to see. I want to see Pryor and McDougal suit up. I'm not surprised they both missed a scrimmage with their lingering injury issues, but I really want to see those guys get 4 preseason games. We saw how much it kind of held Milner back last year with the time he missed in the summer. I'd hate to see the same kind of thing happen with Pryor in particular, and even McDougal, who's probably going to get a couple chances to roll through with the ones in the preseason. And on the field, I want to see turnovers. I want to see this Jets defense start forcing turnovers, strip sacks, interceptions. I know Demario Davis is having this great camp, and he talked about it when we interviewed him for the site. He's got to become a guy who's forcing more turnovers. And as a whole, this Jets team needs to get a better turnover differential. They need to protect the football, and they need to force more turnovers because that's really something that's held them back the past few years. So along, obviously, with everybody staying healthy, Geno showing strides and not throwing an interception. I want to see the defense come away with an interception or two, force a fumble, make some kind of big play that's going to set up easy points. We'll go Mike, Dalbin, Connor, what you guys want to see Thursday, and then we'll wrap it up.
The main thing I want to see, obviously, you know what I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching offensive line. The main thing I want to watch there is I want to compare Winters to Ibushi. I want to see, because Ibushi's going to get reps with the first team. He got reps, it sounds like, at the scrimmage with the first team. Compare those two guys play by play, and I want to see who's further along, and I want to see if Ibushi's actually living up to the hype. So I want to see that. I followed Dozier really closely leading up to the first preseason game, so I obviously want to see how far along he is. And if, like Connor's saying, he's dominating the twos, I mean, does he get a chance to move up and work with the first team at all? I mean, probably not. We want to probably redshirt him, keep that same thing that they've been doing, but I really want to keep my eye on him. And then again, what we talked about earlier, just how these guys are gelling together. You got Winters and Ibushi moving all over the place from side to side. I just want to see how they're working with Giacomini. I want to see how Brick's working with whoever's playing left guard. I just want to see how these guys are going to start gelling as a unit.
Yeah, for me, I think the things that I want to see, Stephen Hill, this is his first chance to show that all the hype that we've heard from him in the camp hasn't just been for show. And I do think that the Colts secondary is fairly weak, so I wouldn't read too much into it, but I'm looking forward to see what he can do. For the running backs especially, I'm interested to see what Daryl Richardson can bring, and how much do you see of Chris Johnson split out wide, because I know that there was some talk last week of Marty actually putting him in the slot, and there were a couple formations for him even spread out wide, and I'm intrigued to see how much of that Marty shows. So those are probably the two biggest things that I'm interested in seeing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be not too interesting of a game, because I don't think they're going to really show much, and going to just try to keep guys healthy for the first preseason game. I think you're going to see a lot of Daryl Richardson. There was a lot of him last night. He has really nice speed on the edge. I think he can catch the ball pretty well. I really like the guy. I think you got to look at him as like a little bit of a faster version as Powell, but just not that consistency that Powell brings every year. So he's my pick to really shine on Thursday evening. With Hill, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, because he's starting to show that he could burn and outmatch slot corners. And you saw that when he faced Patterson last night. It was a complete mismatch, which makes me a little concerned. And I'm starting to believe that starting Patterson on the outside is an absolutely awful move. I don't think he can handle on the outside. I think he's a really good slot guy, and I think he fits really well there. But I think they got to start seeing what they have on the outside, because when Hill blew by him, it was just as bad as a mismatch gets. And you know Hill has the raw talent, but what about when Patterson starts facing guys that have the raw talent and the actual skill level on the NFL to run these routes and go over him for the ball? So keep an eye on the second cornerback spot on Thursday night. Richardson's going to get a lot of carries, and as Dalvin said, definitely watch Hill to see if he can be consistent with getting open and making plays.
All right, we're going to wrap it up real quick. Really appreciate everybody, reading everything we've been putting up the last few weeks and following us through the start of our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TurnOnTheJetsTV. We're already at 125 subscribers. We've got 2 videos up. Big shout out to Kevin Bauer, who's been doing great work for us. He's actually going to turn around a video from the Green and White Scrimmage that we'll have live on Tuesday, I believe. And I'm really going to try to get an X's and O's thing banged out filming-wise that we can get up hopefully by the end of this week. And then I think tentatively we're going to plan to go ahead with the podcast at least once a week, probably on Sundays, but obviously we'll keep everybody informed, and I will continue to improve the toolbar here so we can get a little more interaction with Q&As, and I could do those like cool little things along the bottom that says our names. I'll get coached up on that during the week. Got to give a quick shout out to Hans. Good luck on your job interview tomorrow.
Good luck, man. Good luck.
Yeah, make that move to the lower trust.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. This is going to get uploaded right to the YouTube channel, so read us at TurnOnTheJets.com. Follow us all on Twitter. I promote this stuff enough. You should know the handles by now. And please subscribe to us on YouTube at TurnOnTheJetsTV. Guys, let's go watch Giants-Bills. I don't know who to root for. I don't know like you.
Let's go get a snack.
Yeah, let's go get a damn snack. I'm not rooting for anyone.
Absolutely not.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
See you,
Go Jets.